Welcome to Podtendo, a Nintendo podcast, where they analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games.
ファミリーコンピューターに夢の大冒険ゲームスーパーマリオブラザーズ秘密の力で大きく変身地上に地下に海に空に次々に展開する不思議な世界スーパーマリオブラザーズ
Hey guys, welcome to the Podtendo podcast, where we analyze, reminisce, and replay the glory of old Nintendo games. We contacted on Twitter, Podtendo Podcast. Email us, podtendo@gmail.com. We're on Instagram, Facebook, all the other socials for the most part. YouTube sometimes. Stuff pops up, so that's exciting. I'm your co-host. Oh wait, we're a review, retrospective, let's play pop culture show. Good job, me. We're joined...
Nailed it.
I'm your co-host, Mick. I'm joined every episode by that other voice, and that other voice is my lovely and talented co-host...
Tyson.
Nice. So this is it. So this is our month of Mario show. November, we remember Mario. He has a mustache. It's a weird thing that we do. So is this our... I know we did this last year. Our 6th month of Mario?
Must be.
Six years. And you know what they do? They say after 6 years, you go back to the beginning. So what we're going to be doing this month is we're going to be going back and we're going to be looking at 2 shows from our first 10 episodes. Our very first podcast ever was me and Tyson sat down, poorly recorded version of the Super Mario Brothers NES trilogy. So what we're going to do is we're going to individually break these games down every week. So you get a show every week over the month of November. It's exciting stuff. 1 and Lost Levels today, 2 next week, 3 the week afterwards, and we're going to end with Super Mario World. So it's great stuff.
Yeah, I figured it's a nice change of pace instead of just doing like 2 more recent or Mario flavored games. We figured we'd go back and
and I mean it slows us down because like we have a couple ones on the Super Nintendo or the N64 we can look at, and then we're at the GameCube, right? So kind of just to slow down the trajectory of our show just a bit, we thought we'd go back to the beginning and redo and do these shows right, because I think some of our better content, like I said, post 50 were great. We're gonna have like 50 really good shows, and we'll have 50 shows, and I'm like, you could go back and listen to, but like I'm not gonna if you told me they suck, I'm not going to disagree with you. So let's do these shows, games, proper Podtendo treatments, as opposed to whatever we did in the first ones. I didn't even go back and listen, so maybe for next week. But we're going to start with the original, the OG, Super Mario Bros. For the NES. It was developed by Nintendo R&D4. It sold 40 million copies. It was released in late 1985. How Long to Beat has this game at 2 hours. Price at release was $24.99. And if you factor in inflation, that'd be $56 today. On eShop, you can get a copy for about $15 to $1,000. Seems like a lot. It is available on the NES Online, so play it there. Don't pay for an individual copy for $5.
Yeah, no, that's silly. That's silly. Or if you have like a Nintendo Classic or something laying around, I'm sure it's bundled in there.
I imagine it probably made hopefully this game made the NES Classic, so I don't remember.
Yeah, pretty limited selection, I remember, but I figured that this one might be just a gimme.
Yeah, hopefully. I have a abbreviated Wayback Machine for us, so we can do that. So before we kind of dive into this game, look at it, we got to look at what the pop cultural landscape looked like of this movie. Kept it a little bit cleaner because it's supposed to be like kind of like more mini episodes and like long overdrawn adventures. So we're going to look at what did life look like back in 1985. What did that landscape look like? And then we'll dive into this game deeper. So bear with us just uno second. So the top TV shows around this time were The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, Star Wars Droids, Gummy Bears. All right.
Not bad.
How about It's Punky Brewster? I believe that Selena Moon Fry or whatever her name is doing a reboot on like TV called Punky Brewster Returns. So time is cyclical. The Care Bears debuted this year. That's pretty exciting. G.I. Joe. Awesome. There you go.
Epic.
The better version of G.I. Joe, Mask.
Yes. Dang. Heating up. This is some quality stuff. I mean, like I think Gummy Bears started the whole like Disney animation,
Yeah.
like for TV. Like if you go back now, you get to enjoy all of it.
Yeah, it's true. Disney Afternoon, Disney One Saturday Morning didn't really exist, and you could jump into Jump Street. How about top movies that came out in late 1985? We had Commando, Reanimator, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Rocky 4, Spies Like Us, and Out of Africa.
Awesome, solid movies here. Reanimator is a really solid movie that, you know, it's like a gore movie, so it's kind of hard to watch sometimes, but you know, sometimes you find you're in the mood for something that's just like kind of gross out.
Yeah.
Reanimator.
There you go.
And who doesn't love Commando? That's peak Arnie right there.
That is pretty classic. Top video games released this year. We got Gauntlet. I feel like Gauntlet is like 64 is maybe a game that we should like look at playing at some point. Ghosts and Goblins.
Boo.
Gradius, Paperboy, and Wrecking Crew.
Yeah. I mean, I think the Gauntlet we should definitely play. Maybe we should do that when we're together, so we don't have to like fight through the hordes alone. Because
I feel like that's one of my best memories of like a co-op experience with you as a kid is actually playing through Gauntlet, and we had like rented it, and we got through like level 6 or something, right? Like we crushed it. So
yeah. I think it's just one of those games where like you eventually kind of figure it out and play through it. And I miss those top-down co-op games.
And I have some terrible news for us, guys. I don't have sound clips today because my phone died. My little phone, I forgot to charge it, and when I turned it on, it 8%, and now it's dead %. So I just get to tell you about that. We don't get to listen to these great songs. So the top 3 songs in late 1985 were "Wake Me Up Before You Go" by Wham.
Oh, awesome.
So awesome. That's sad. Wake me up before you go.
Just think of the Zoolander scene, everybody, where they're having the gasoline fight. Think about that.
That's it. "Like a Virgin" by Madonna was number 2. I can't believe she ripped off Weird Al like that.
Yeah. Well, you know what? The intro to this song is awesome.
Yeah.
It's just wicked. So, definitely. I can't wait for that to be sampled in the next 2-3 years, and then somebody be like, "No, I totally came up with that." Stupid modern music.
And then finally, the number 1 song by the biggest band in the world, Wham, was "Careless Whisper." So we could have had George Michael's twice in our life today, and my phone died. That's sad.
Oh, no. Well, you know, as long as you get a little George Michael in your life, that's okay. But man, twice, 1 and 3, man, this guy.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, so that now we know what the pop cultural landscape. For some reason, if you're alive and you don't remember the release of this game, what were you doing? But maybe that jogged your memory. So there you go. And if you weren't, that's the kind of world you could have lived in. So it's pretty exciting stuff.
Yes, I think pretty neat. But I think everybody has a very because this game got introduced to every person who's played every video. Like if you've ever played a video game, you've probably came across this game at some point. Just all a matter of when.
Yeah, pretty much. Okay, so now we can move on to the development details of this game, which I think honestly is going to be the meat potatoes. The rest of it is pretty light, much like this experience. Let's dive through this one. I would think this is the smallest, maybe like Super Mario Bros. 2, a little bit more substance because the gameplay is a little bit more varied. 3 we can really dive into, and then 4, I think 3 and 4 World will be a bit better. But anyway, so on to development details. So this game was designed by Shigeru Miyamoto and Takashi Tezuka. You probably heard those names before because I think they're still prominent at Nintendo and they still kick around. So it was referred to as an athletic game, which is now what we call platformers. Their work on Excitebike and Kung Fu led them to want to create an athletic game where you traveled through colorful worlds and not just black backgrounds. Excitebike also influenced the speed or the walk-run speed. Before now, players would just be stuck on one default speed. This game was created alongside The Legend of Zelda. Some ideas intermingled. The rotating fire lines were originally enemies in Zelda. They pushed development so that it would be available for the year-end shopping season. Bowser was originally going to be an ox, inspired by the Ox King from Toyo's animation film Alakazam the Great. But later, a turtle... he became a turtle to better fit in with the motif of the game. The levels were designed around a small Mario, intending to make him bigger in the final version. Ultimately, they decided to it would be more fun if Mario could change size via power-ups. They make you start out as small Mario and design the first level to gift you super mushrooms so that you feel gratification from getting the power-ups. They ran out of space while programming this game, so they had to take some liberties. Cloud sprites are actually just white bushes. The pipe sound effect is also the sound you use when you take damage, and the Goomba was intended because it was a static, or the Goomba was created because it's just a static image that flips back and forth to create the illusion of walking. Wow, what great development details.
Nice. Kind of cool that they did. It's neat to see how, like, humble the beginnings are of this mighty franchise.
Yeah.
Where they were doing little things like they just wanted to create an athletic game, not even a platformer at the time. Like, that's so fascinating to think about that this was like, because I figured like games like Pitfall would have been classified kind of more as a platformer, but I guess that's an adventure game or whatever. So it's neat that there was all these like distinctions.
Only athletic people run and jump. You should know that. Come on.
It's true. Well, I'm not athletic anymore because I don't do either. So,
all right, there you go.
Guess that's the definition. But it's super cool, and I think that this game has like just such a storied history. So it's neat that they just what could have been with an Ox as Bowser in a different timeline.
There you go. Could have had King. Yeah, I can't even imagine an Ox now, right? Like Bowser's so iconic. So who would have thought that they
Ox King?
Thank you.
Always.
Koopas, I guess. King Koopa.
Yep.
Had to be the bigger turtle. Sure, why not? So the controls, the directional pad moves you, A jumps, B runs, and shoots fires. You can collect super mushrooms, fire flowers, and 1-up mushrooms. And coins, I guess. Every 100 coins gets you a life, so.
Yep. And they're swimming, and I think that the subtlety of the movement with the inertia is so brilliant. Like, they nailed it. Like, that inertia feeling, because like games around this time sometimes just have like a dead arc where you just press jump and then they jump in an arc like Pitfall.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like that here.
Well, sometimes, but I think that like you can build up your running motion so you can make longer jumps, and that's a legit strategy. Whereas if you just don't run and jump and don't run and slide under blocks, like, I mean, the physics of the game, like the little inertia that you create and control, it's like it's good. Like it's slippery, but it's not too slippery.
Yeah, very cool, nice. How about first memories of this game? So, this was the first video game I ever played. My babysitter had an NES and all the games, and I would play it for days. Great babysitting. Our uncle also had an NES that had we would get a lot of mileage out of it when we visit him. Sadly, I've actually never owned an NES in my life, and I do own a copy of this, which is attached to a little trophy, but that's kind of it. So,
yep. I was gonna say, I'm like, that's what the only time I've ever held this thing is our trophy.
Yeah,
is the Rock. So,
It was like $3. I bought it for $3 at King of Trade in Lethbridge. I should have just bought like 10 copies. Just that could be my Super Nintendo. I just collect NES copies of this game. Like, they're so cheap and expensive. Like, you could have 10,000 of these games and it would cost you like $10,000. It's kind of neat.
Yep. Just essentially, it's like collecting like a $1 or $2 and just putting in storage. Just collecting toonies.
Yeah.
It's so cool. Like, I mean, like I said, I think everybody's came across this game at some point in their lives, because most of us were not alive when this came out. I'm sure. Like, if we have a bit of an older audience that's listening, but me and you were both not alive during this time, so we missed out. But it's one of those games. We're so timeless that I think our first exposure was it because Nintendo was so prevalent of re-releasing this game and making it very available.
Oh, 100%.
That we got to play it on Super Mario All-Stars. So when we were rotating through that was the time that I really first experienced it, was on that, because it even had, I think it was in Super Mario World 3, it gave you the original quote-unquote Mario Bros, like the with the things coming out, the two pipes on the top, two pipes on the bottom, and you got to knock each other around. Like, that was like, we had this huge learning experience from the Super Mario All-Stars pack, and it's like, that game, without that, like, I don't think we would have we probably would not have seen this for a while because it wasn't re-released on like the N64.
It would have been like the Game Boy Advanced when they did the NES game remakes on that. Would have been like the next time it was like truly released outside of Mario All Stars. So
yeah,
nice.
Very interesting.
Okay. So then on to the fun story. So we can kind of dive into this game proper. Now, our experience with it, you're kind of caught up pop culturally where we're at. We'll see how this goes, because, I can explain it in like 2 sentences. Anyway, so the story. So King Koopa has taken over the Mushroom Kingdom, is up to the plumbers for some reason to fight off this evil army and rescue the princess from one of the kingdom's many castles. Yay.
Yep. That's all you get. There's not even a Luigi to talk to you.
No.
Your only interaction with any other characters besides King Koopa and Peach, who are at the end of the game, is King Koopa's imposters and the Toads telling you that the princess is in another castle. It's like, that's it. That's all you get for dialogue. They weren't focused on that. They were just focused on how do we make a fun game. So.
Yeah, that's basically it. So, again, it was very limiting. This was like video games were going under. There wasn't time put into development. So the fact that they created this from kind of nothing, kind of impressive.
Yeah, well, we haven't mentioned it yet, but essentially this game, saved the video game
yes.
There
was a crash.
Nintendo Mania, and essentially because the Atari created the crash. Do you want to go into it?
Bridge notes are there was a video game crash just because there was a plethora of video game consoles, poor content on the market that was just overpriced. And it wasn't until Nintendo released the NES and this game that kind of brought them out of the Renaissance. They were kind of the figurehead that was like, home gaming can exist. It does work. It basically, and thanks to the creation of this game. So.
Yep. And I think the little Nintendo, if you look at all the Nintendo cartridges, everybody that knows this, but there's that little sticker, the seal of approval from Nintendo. Mm-hmm. That was literally created so parents would look at the box and be like, how do I know this isn't terrible? You're not going to hate it as soon as I take it home and you buy it and I can't return it. I'm going to have wasted all my money on your stupid thing. It's like, this little sticker says approved by Nintendo. It's like, okay, well, give it a go. And their first one sealed and approved was this game. So it's like, that's a pretty lofty goal for every other game to come after this, if this is the benchmark.
Great praise, great approval, and basically built a company kind of. They obviously had stuff before this, but this was kind of like their flagstone achievement, essentially, right? So. Yeah,
I think so. I'm not a Nintendo historian, but.
But you're on a Retro Nintendo podcast. What? Anyways, level notes.
I don't have a certificate on my wall, but I can say I'm a hobbyist.
Okay, that's fair. That's acceptable. So basically, level notes. We have a Let's Play section where we talk in not pain. I think pretty good summaries of the game. If you follow along, we'll say like Castlevania, which we did last month. We kind of went through each area, talked about trials, tribulations, tips. This game you get less of because it's kind of platformy. You move left to right. That's sort of it, right? So, there are 8 worlds. Each world is made up of 4 levels. There are grass areas, underground levels, sky/high platforming areas, underwater areas, and dark-themed grass levels, and then finally there are castles. So.
Yep. It's your pretty standard start out in a grassy plain and just take your time with it. There are warps. So, and the 1, 2, everybody knows that you can skip the tube going up and ride the elevator to the top and run along the top of the screen. And then you can skip to, 2, 3, or 4. And I think that doing that is we all did that as kids, and that totally hindered our skill levels because we essentially were just jumping ourselves into hard difficulty and not learning how to properly play the game.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point because you're right, you should develop a new skill almost in each area so you can master it by the end. And you're right, if you just skip ahead, you get further, but you do miss that development, right? So
yeah, well, I think as a kid we always kind of would get to get as far as you can.
Yeah,
that's the goal, is how far could you get. So we'd all try to get as far as we could as fast as we could. and we didn't have the patience to learn those skills. And I blame the wizard for teaching us that warp points were a thing.
Damn you, Jenny Lewis.
Yeah. And I think like that's the cool thing about this game is like it was all about the secrets. So you talked about the secrets and let me show you the warp on like how to get this or whatever. So you were like, it took a lot of joy to show people how to break this game. So everybody did it.
Yeah.
But it almost like hard capped everybody's skill because you would get dunked into the levels with the peeps come out from below you and just wreck you. Because unless you know how to, if you're still learning how to jump and platform correctly, you're going to just get wrecked. And if you're rushing through things, which most people are who do that warp trick, you're never going to learn to take your time and use your power-ups correctly. Because sometimes taking your time and hitting blocks and clearing out a section and taking your, like, going slow is sometimes one of the best things you can do, and using your jumping sparingly. So yeah, I think as kids, we just kind of, we hard capped ourselves.
Well, you want to like press run and go and jump, and that's kind of what. But you're right; it's a combination of both, right? Because there's some parts where you need momentum, and there's some jumps you can't make if you don't have momentum. But it's not always beneficial, right? So it's fun because they kind of play around with those two mechanics. Like you need to be fast, but also you need to be methodical.
Yep. So, but that's just my little spiel on the warp zone trick and how it affected our skill levels as kids.
Yeah, like so, I'm at a dilemma here, listeners. Tyson, myself, dilemma. I have the levels laid out. Do we know the levels? Do we sit here and painstakingly go, World 1, you have to go through a grassland, an underwater or underground area, sky, and finally a castle? Is that entertaining? Do we talk about each of them in general? Do we talk about our favorites? Do we just say that you probably played this game at some point?
Yeah. Well, and I don't think that there's anything, like, I mean, unless there's something that jumps out in a section.
I would be fine. Yeah, if we just kind of look at each of the themed areas. I'm sorry, I have a puppy that's trying to look at my plumbing. I don't. Anyways, if you hear that scratching sound, that's what's going on. I think let's talk about each of the themed areas. Maybe like highlights or something like that from our current playthrough, past experiences, move on. So like grass areas. World 1 has been done to death, right? If you played Super Mario World, you definitely played this game. Right? Yep. Any kind of big standouts in like a grass area level? Can you add anything to the world that hasn't been said already about this experience?
And I think that unless and honestly, I don't think going through each of the levels in the worlds, because I mean we painstakingly can and be like, and I've known in the past we've kind of like gone through it and be like, oh, and this is where this character shows up,
yeah,
and this is where this thing happens. But I mean, I think in general, a lot of it's just kind of similar samey, where like the beginning, it's your grass levels and intros, what the underwater will do, what the underground will do, and what a castle is.
Yeah.
And then number 2, you're on to, they change the sky. There's more enemies. Now there's some sky platforming.
Yeah, so let's just look at each theme. So grassland, all right, it is what it is, right? Underground, is there like an underground area section that stands out in your mind above all else or something like that? Running along the top of the screen was kind of a neat mechanic.
Yeah, that was that in the elevators. That's the thing.
Okay. How about sky high platforming areas, right? So I like it's just high platforming. Like I said, the cheap bridge areas really is just run and go. So the strategy if you're fighting on the cheap bridges is you don't want to be slow and methodical on this one. It's just run and jump.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's terrible.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Dark themed grass levels, outside of them being a little bit more difficult with bullet bills and just kind of like the Lakitus. Nothing super noteworthy.
No. It is kind of nice. When does the snowy ones come up?
Not till Super Mario All-Stars.
Lost Worlds?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I did not get around to playing the Super Mario All-Stars collection before I played this. It's just basically different thematically, right? So.
Yep. Yeah, more or less.
Nice. And then, what's the last one? Oh, castles. Any notable parts of castles? They've lava. There's spinning fire wheels. In fact, this is probably
the you have to go a specific path.
Yeah.
Frustrating, and I think maybe sometimes the only challenge in the castles, because it's not like sometimes the platforming's super hard. It's just more of like monotonous.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So that's kind of it. Those are the levels. They repeat in those patterns. Oh, underwater. We didn't talk about underwater. Bloopers might be the worst enemies ever. They don't really have a pattern. You can't really swim around them because they're faster. They're a little bit more agile. Very frustrating if you do not have a fire flower.
Yeah. Oh, and that's the other thing is, so the power-ups. I think the power-ups are like the fire flower. You can just wreck Bowser from across the room, or you can just literally the Hammer Bros. You can just wait till they drop down below and just throw some fireballs at them. It's like, you know how many times we died just trying to run under them or try to run around them or whatever. It's like, if we would have just been more careful and just kept our fire flower instead of just using it as an extra hit, we could easily just dealt with so many more of the more difficult enemies. So sometimes it does just reward you to take your time in this game and to hold, like, if you can, because sometimes you may not see a fire flower for like a whole world.
Yeah.
Like, so that's multiple levels in a row. So you need to keep that. So try not to get hit once. It's doable.
Yeah.
It's not hard.
One of my best advice.
But it's just like, you just take your time, watch your jumps, and use the jump sparingly. Don't just like spam it.
Yeah. And like, one of my best advice is like, if you haven't played this game or it's been a while, play it on the SNES Online. Save states makes this game like a fun afternoon experience kind of thing, right? Because you can save, your fire flower, go through a whole level, and if you beat it with the fire flower, great, then save again, right? And it kind of just mitigates that a little bit. So ending. So at the end of every castle, you get a little toad that trolls you and says, "Sorry, Mario, but our princess is in a different castle." And you're like, "You son of a gun. Why do you have so many castles?" You actually save the princess. He kisses you, and you can press start to begin the second quest, which I believe is just a little bit more difficult. And if you beat it, you get like some type of credits or something like that. So they're challenging you a little bit. I did not get through that far for this game. I just did it one quest, Mick. That's who I am.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it's pretty samey after you played 5 worlds of this game or 8 worlds of this game. It's just like, you eventually just kind of get like, oh, okay, no, I'm good. I need to take a break from this.
Yeah.
And like, I think, so in the last castle, they swap out the Koopas, like the little green shelled Koopas or what the heck they are, with the new and improved ones, which don't have the head sticking out.
Oh yeah.
They're just like these little black shells.
Buzzy beetles.
Buzzy beetle. And I think those are now the base enemy. So it's like, not only are the enemies like the more difficult version, but now the levels have harder platforming. And it's like, I don't love platforming that much to want to just play through in a second quest of this.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I mean, maybe it's one thing I do at some point. Probably not. Current thoughts on this game? I like to say this game's a little rough around the edges. It's definitely not an easy just pick up and go game. You definitely have to kind of like practice your skills. I say for about 10 to 20 minutes and just die, right? So like pick it up, play until you die, because you need to learn how the jump feels, how the run feels, how to get over pits, how to avoid enemies, right? Just those little timing things, and then you can kind of get into it. Yeah, other than that, it's not bad. So Tice, current thoughts?
I think this might be and I don't mean to say this in like condescending, this may be the best beginner video game. It's not too overwhelming. There's not too many power-ups. There's not too much going on. It's just kind of like, make sure you're going right, make your jumps and just kind of explore, take your time.
Yeah.
And I think that if somebody like has never played a video game before, this is a good starting point, because there's 2 buttons and a directional pad, which the directional pad, you're really only going to use 3 of them. You're never really going to use back too much. Mm-hmm. Like maybe to like kind of reassess yourself, but like you're not really going to be. It's super easy. It's like there's not too complicated. Just take your time and enjoy your experience. And yeah, you'll die a few times getting used to the waiting and stuff, but and even if you played this game and you didn't beat it, I think that you would have a good experience.
Yeah, nice.
So I think this is a great beginner or like entry level video game to someone who's never even played before.
Okay, and then what would you change?
Let me move left
Yeah.
I understand why they didn't let you do it, because it would just be so computer intensive on this limited basic hardware. But it's like, if I could just move left a couple times, because there's so many times where like you just move yourself slightly forward, so now you don't really have access to what you need on the left to get over the obstacle, like a spraying or whatever, and just like, no, rip, just dead, just like I can't go back.
Yeah, no,
this sucks.
That's actually very, very, very good point. So cool. But before we carry on, we should address the elephant in the room. So technically, there was a Super Mario Brothers 2 that came out in Japan. So we were left with a problem. Do we do the Japanese Super Mario Brothers 2 deserve its own?
Wait. What would you change?
Oh, yeah. Huh. I hate when I uncover a fire flower. Well, I have a fire flower. I get hit, and then the fire flower just turns me into Super Mario and acts as a mushroom. I don't like that they don't stack, or because, like, I think once I unlock the fire flower, if I get attacked, I should be able to go back and, like, grab it, right? So that'd be my what would you change?
Fair enough.
All right, cool. So anyway, so before we were left with a problem. Does Super Mario Brothers 2, The Lost Level, deserve its own episode, or do I shoehorn this one in at the end? I kind of felt lazy, and I knew I wasn't going to complete it, so it doesn't really get its own episode. Let's kind of quickly talk about this hard experience of Super Mario Brothers and go from there. Does that work?
Yeah. No, this game is basically a DLC for the first game. It's a standalone thing, and
it's more not. Super Mario Brothers 1, the sequel, than it is its own entity. So we shouldn't do like Super Mario Brothers The Lost Levels and Super Mario 2, as it's like, it's better to sandwich these games together than like save it for next week, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's essentially like if the development just kept going and they just like, we're like, let's just keep making levels here.
Yeah. All right. So let's go through. I'll read through the vital stats, development details. We can talk about changes to gameplay, and then we can get into kind of more like a side quest cinema review of this game and see where that leaves us. So cool. So Super Mario Brothers 2 or Super Mario Brothers The Lost Levels. It was released by Nintendo R&D 4. It sold 2.5 million copies. Was released June 3rd, 1986. So only several months after the release of the original. How Long to Beat has this game at 2.5 hours. Price release in North America doesn't exist. On eBay, you can find a copy of Japanese version of this game for $30, which kind of cool to have on a shelf for $30. eShop. It's available on the NES Online. Play it there. Don't pay $5 for like the 3DS, whatever it's called, virtual console release. Development details. Within 4 months of the release of Super Mario Bros. In North America, they had reported 10 million copies had been sold. They wanted to create a version that could be played in arcades, but would need to be a little bit more difficult. Miyamoto was too busy to lead the project, so Tezuka took over the directorial role. Due to the difficulty of this game, they marketed it as for super players. When evaluating for release outside of Japan, Nintendo of America believed that The Lost Levels was too difficult. I wonder why we got the version of Super Mario Bros. 2 that we did in North America. I guess listeners will have to tune in next week to see how that story plays out.
Yeah, yep. It'll be a fascinating learn, I should say. It's this game, it's interesting that they tried to make it the arcade version, because essentially this game is designed to troll you.
Yeah.
And I could think of one spot specifically where I would lose my mind if this was an arcade game. And I paid money for it, and I was playing by quarter by quarter by quarter.
Yeah.
I would actually just like be like so choked at Nintendo, but it's a home release, so I'll forgive it.
Okay, nice. Okay, how about changes to gameplay? So they added weather effects, a blue super mushroom that kills you, warp pipes that send you backwards, springboards that jump you super high, or super springboards, and most notably, Luigi. So player 2 actually has unique features. He'd be a little bit more slippy slidey on the ground, but his default jump is greater.
Yep. And you couldn't jump over the pole in the first Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah.
But in this one you can, because with Luigi he has a slightly higher jump, so you can technically break it. And not in the points where they scripted you to be able to break it.
Fair enough. Okay, so let's just get into a down and dirty review of this supplemental material and go from there. So, favorite part of this game. So I love that Super Mario Brothers had such an impact instantly that they rushed the release of this game. This game is very tough. Save states make it manageable though, and it's just tough. You know, like if you love Super Mario Brothers and you have mastered the original, take this one as a challenge, right? I wish they would have given similar treatments to, say, Super Mario Brothers 3, Super Mario World, or even Super Mario 64. So, Dice, what's your favorite part of this experience?
I think that my favorite part is probably because I remember playing this more than the first Super Mario Brothers. As weird as that is. Like, replaying the first, like, few worlds of Super Mario Brothers 2 Lost Levels, I was like, why do this seems like when I think of Mario and I think of like my scarring moments of just like wanting to quit, it's all these levels.
Yeah.
It's these levels. And I was like, oh my gosh, as a kid, did I just like skip Super Mario Brothers a lot and just play Lost Levels? And then just like be like, no, I have to play Lost Levels, and then just get murdered by them and just be like, I'm gonna play like Mario 2 and just take my time.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's I was like, for some reason that's just like it stuck out when I was replaying. I was like, wow, like I vividly remember replaying these levels, and sometimes like when I think of Mario levels, I think of these ones. So I guess the level design.
Cool. How about most memorable, notable scene? Normally I give us a list of options, but there's only one option in this game. You had this moment. You loaded up Super Mario All-Stars on your Super Nintendo. You click this weird unknown Lost Levels game. You go to play 1-1. You move over 10 paces. You hit a block. You see a mushroom. You grab it and you die. And you're like, all right, well, that was a interesting experience. I'm never going to get far in this game, are you? No, you never will. You never will.
Yep. No, it's interesting. It's interesting. Like this, man, this game, it's tricky. It's tricky. It is, I like that Super Mario All-Stars, like they did like a redo of the art style to it. So it looks super off. And it's just like, it's this really, like if anyone hasn't played the Super Mario All-Stars pack for the Super Nintendo, just play it for a little bit or whatever. And it's a really unique experience because they took this game that was like, I'm assuming they reskinned it. So this is almost like the first re-release of a game where they like HD remastered it. It's super cool. And I think that it's just the art style was so interesting compared. Maybe that's why I went to this as opposed to the first one. That's why I remember these levels so well. But yeah, because I swore when I replayed the first Mario Brothers, I'm like, there's a poison mushroom in the game, and you go to the wiki. It's like, no, there's literally a super mushroom, fire flower, and a 1-up, and a star, and that's it. It's like, there's no poison mushroom. It's like, why do I remember there's a poison mushroom? Because I played this darn game more, so it's just like it's ingrained into me. It's like a lot of the stuff from this game blends over to the first game for some reason in my mind.
Interesting. I mean, it makes sense, I guess. Yeah, cool. How about what's your least favorite part of this game? Myself is there's a jump in level 2-2 that you have to uncover a hidden block. But if you run too far to the right, you actually don't have enough momentum to like jump up onto the hidden block. And you actually need that momentum because as you jump onto the hidden block, you actually need it to propel you to this pipe, and you have to time it so that this piranha plant that comes out doesn't hit. And then you actually have to continue that momentum over to the next one. I thought I was stuck. I finally got out. But that's level 2-2, ladies and gentlemen. There are 8 worlds in this level. I did not get further. I think I got to 3-1. And that's where my save state remains. And maybe I'll pick it up here and there, but it was not fun.
Yeah, I got past that jump, but that's clearly where I would get stuck as a kid. Because it's just like, how do you beat this? How do I get past you?
Yeah.
And I think it's in this level where, or maybe it's 3-1, where there's a super jump which will send you over the pole.
Yes.
Anyways, I'll wait till our next section.
Okay. And then how about so you have that's your least favorite part as well. How about a criticism of this game? A final criticism. We'll end with a positive, and then we're all done.
Okay. So there's like super jumps with the super springs. Well, they'll send you flying into the air. So I think it's on like 3-1.
Okay.
Where you can take a super jump and it'll take you way, way, way over the pole. So if you're just holding right, you just cruise over the pole and you see it go way underneath you and you go, oh, that's funny. Like, okay, what am I I'm breaking the game right now. Let's keep going. So you keep going and then you'll come across a little section and it'll take you to a warp zone. So you see a pipe and you're like, oh, I got a secret. Where did I unlock? and it will warp you to level 1. 1-1.
Well, you should.
And this is a game that doesn't let you move back left. So even if you aren't really, like, you kind of forget about it and you just kind of hold left too far and you go past that pole and you're done. You just go back.
Yeah.
All your progress just done. And it's like, if that was a quarter game, could you imagine, like, just like trying to go over the pole a little bit and then just like maybe like moving the screen too much, so you just like don't do it and you're like, no, now I have to go through that warp thing, so you have to go through the whole warp thing to go through it again. Like, oh my goodness. I understand that's just kind of a troll, but it's like, this game is essentially if Mario Maker was made by sadistic jerks trying to milk you for quarters.
Yep, pretty
like
much.
the hidden blocks thing I get, but it's like you need momentum to get to the first block, to have momentum to get to the second block, momentum to get to that super pole, to jump over that massive chasm. When it's like, why you do, like, you were so sadistic. Like, this game is supposed to be fun. Yeah. It's not just supposed to be like how soon can you quit? It's like, this is a masochist game. It's not like, who enjoys this?
Sick people. Myself, it's tough. It's meant to be tough, period, right? I think it was the right decision to repackage Doki Doki Panic as Mario 2, spoilers. And I do think that the lack of mid-air control on the jump for Mario Brothers and the Lost Levels is kind of tough to get used to, right? It gets way better in later titles, much tighter. That's kind of my criticism, is just it's tough. It's meant to be tough. And I kind of respect them that they made that. And then finally, a positive praise, and then we're all done. So Nintendo clearly knew what they had on their hands when they made Super Mario Brothers, and they doubled down on the effort and making the difficulty just like super hard. I think it was kind of like a good move by the company. I respect the hell out of them for it, and they kind of still do that, right? Like, if you think about, think of how weird Smash Brothers is. It's a concept that works, that they kind of brand. Or think of all the different gameplays and styles of Zelda, right? Or Kirby throughout the years, right? They're always trying something a little different. So even from the beginning, we see this Nintendo as a company. They always kind of swerve just a little bit, right? And I respect that.
That's fair. I think that they nailed simplicity.
Yeah.
Like, it's a super, like, we went from Mario Brothers 1, where I said that's a great beginner entry level experience where you could have fun, to this game, which I called a masochist experience. So, but the controls are the same. So it's taking you learn very basic skills, and then how can you apply them through this huge range of obstacles. So it's almost like teaching the gamer how to build skills in a game. It's like you keep your controls consistent, but it's how you interact with the gamer and how you create. It's the gameplay experience that you created that tailors it. So it's so neat that Nintendo has always been so smart with keeping the controls tight, and that's why Smash Brothers works so well, because it's as a fighting game, it's very simple, but the skill curve is immense.
Yeah.
So you can pick it up and play it, but you can also master it and be an expert. Same thing with this game. Is like, there's some people who could just absolutely smash these games and Lost World, but then there's people who, like me, who struggle. So I think that, like, there's this wide range, and they built a platform, and all their games just work so well on it, where it's like you are instinctually rewarded by the gameplay that they created with, like, just how you play. It's like, you don't have to earn gold so you can unlock things. You're not trying to get the highest points scored, get the highest points. You're just trying to play the game, and playing the game is rewarding in itself. And that is so awesome. And I wish more modern games would go back to this. And that's why I think Nintendo games are just so always have, like, just an edge towards a more AAA experience.
Yeah, because it's. Yeah, well said. Well said. Nice points. So then finally, Are You Buying It? A cultural significance. And we're done. But they're really short, so I'm just going to read through them. Are You Buying It? So I think we've done these before. Peach is evil? I don't know, maybe. Blocks are actually the citizens of the Mushroom Kingdom. Yikes, that's unfortunate. And then finally, about a cultural significance. So in this section, we look at game tropes, marketing tactics, interesting stories, talk about how this game relates, give other examples to tie it all back together. And I just made a sentence. This game may be the most culturally significant game ever. It single-handedly brought about the home console craze and saved the video game industry. And I mean, ladies and gentlemen, that's culturally significant, is it not?
Yeah. Yep. Well, hey. We'll see. It's even getting its own movie finally.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. So interesting to see there. Kind of wraps up our first parts. Excited to kind of keep going into these games. Tyson's obviously having a decent experience, enjoying his time. Did we miss anything?
No, actually, I think we nailed it.
Nice.
There's lots to go into, but I think that this game is. This is just supposed to spark your interest and make you remember these games, and maybe want to pick up the controller again and replay these games. Because honestly, even if you just like, at your parents' place, if you have a Super Nintendo still kicking around, it's like, go pick up, play this game, and have a fun experience. Or if you can get your hands on a copy, just enjoy it. Like it's a fun little retro experience that, on a Sunday afternoon, you got like an hour or two to burn. Play some Retro Mario.
Nice. Sweet. Yo. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. Echo the sentiments. Tyson was very great job. Way to crush it. I have a million gift to gab, million things to say. You've stolen all the words right out of my mouth, so kudos. Thanks for that. Thanks for all the input. Miss anything?
Of course.
Yeah, no, we're good.
No, I think James Bond, if I want to be careful and round out the year, but I think I'm good.
Cool. Sweet, man. Well, I'll see you in a week, and we'll talk about Super Mario Brothers 2. So keep going on the month of Mario. Glad we're having a good time.
Definitely.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye.